So we're live now, and anyone who's joining us hopefully got notified via email about this conversation today. But I'm here with my friend Derek Hughes, and we're going to be talking a little bit about digital products and how to create your own and the advantages of doing digital products through Substack or beyond. So Derek, first of all, how are you keeping? You all good?
Yeah, brilliant to chat to you again, David, and chat to everyone who's watching. Be good to have a conversation.
Yeah, brilliant. Derek, for anyone who hasn't maybe seen you before, obviously we've done a couple of podcast episodes before, and we've sort of been chatting on and off on Substack and things like that publicly as well. But anyone who doesn't know you, can you briefly tell them who you are and sort of what you offer and what your publication's all about on Substack?
Yeah, I mean, I started writing like online in 2023, so relatively new to it. I hadn't done anything like that before, a bit of experimenting, and wrote to like nobody for a number of months. Eventually, experimented and worked out how you write in a way that attracts readers, and started to build an audience on Medium initially, and then started on Substack last year. So my publication is Irresistible Writer. So I just teach people how to write words that like attract an audience, people to read your stuff, and then also how then to kind of make money from that once you've got people who are interested in what you're doing. And so I send out a couple of free posts a week, just teaching people how to write, how to gain an audience. And then every week, to my paid subs, I'll send a tool, a little template or something I'm using right now that's helping me to grow fast or get readers or attention. Because people they just want stuff to use. So that's the kind of stuff I put into people's hands. And then lots of digital products and courses on the side of that, which we might come on to as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. Derek, I think you've really mastered the art of creating really useful digital products people actually need, and learning how to understand what your audience want and then turn it into a tool they can actually use, going forward, which is great. And you're going to be, obviously, we'll come to this later on in the conversation, but you're going to be doing a masterclass tomorrow, about this kind of stuff. But before we come to that, what are some reasons why people should create or think about creating digital products at the minute? So what are the advantages of having your own digital products to sell?
Yeah, so I have a day job. I work like a 9 to 5, or that's kind of quite changing quite soon. But quite early on, I was interested in like, can you make money from writing and how to do that? Because I was interested kind of maybe reducing my hours at work or moving on from that. And so I've done like ghostwriting, obviously Substack paid subs, and Medium I've written to get money, etc. But what sets digital products apart, and what I kind of love about it, is like you create it. So that's quite intense creating something. But once you've created it, it just kind of works in the background, and you just get like a trickle of sales like every month. So my first product, which was January last year, I created that, and that was the first one. So I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. But like I still get paid money this month from that because people are buying it this month. But I'm actually not doing anything, like 0 hours on it this month, and I just get like paid for it now. Obviously, I've created other products since then, and they just like trickle in sales. And so that idea of you're creating, but then like you just have this ongoing stream where you're not leading like on Medium, where you've got to like write articles every month, or if you're kind of ghostwriting, you've got to kind of put in the time. Digital products kind of just bring that money on the side, which is very, very nice to have, and particularly if you want to kind of be released from your kind of intense time, then having that sort of freedom is really great. And I really enjoy that. And really, I mean, when I did ghostwriting, you're doing stuff for other people, which is absolutely fine if that's the thing you like too. But digital products I love because they like help people. Do you know what I mean? And your own ideas and your own thoughts. You're not just like churning out content for somebody else. You've created something that helps people. And so that's quite a great feeling when people like said, oh, I've used your course. It's really helped me with this or that or the other. And you make money on top of that. That for me is like a win-win. And just like, just creating something that's yours and you set it out into the world and it impacts people's lives. That's like I find that like really, very thrilling experience, really kind of engaging to like create that, it's an exciting thing to do. It's not like hard work in a boring work sense, it's very kind of energizing and stimulating to do that. So That's kind of why I love doing it and why I love kind of helping other people work out how to do that as well.
Yeah. No, Brian, it's very rewarding work, I'm sure. I want to ask as well there, because from something you said there. So you said that you created a digital product like last January, and that you're still getting sales from it now. How is it that people find those products that you created months ago? Like, what's the system you have set up where people can still come across those and then buy them?
Yeah, I mean, that's really important. Now, I've kind of learned that over the last 12 months, like how to actually do that. And so essentially what I do is take my first product, which was about my ultimate headline toolkit. So that's about headlines and how to write headlines that get attention. So that means like whenever I write anything about headlines, so say I'm writing a Substack article this week and I'm saying you want to get readers, you need to make sure you've got headlines that engage with them. I can just hyperlink the word headline and it would go to the course. Yeah. So whenever I'm talking about it, but I don't need to put a sales pitch in the sentence. I can just do that link. But I mean, sometimes when I'm sending a newsletter out, I may do like a 3-line pitch at the top and just say, by the way, if you are struggling to get headlines that get readers to click on, then this might help you, and there could be just a little link, So every now and again, I just drip in a mention here and there. But then the other thing I have, so I have my newsletter on Kit as well as Substack. So on Kit, you can set up all sorts of ways. So new people who get alongside me will get various offers. So one of the things I'd offer is a video interview I did all about headlines, etc. So they get that free. And then I'll mention my toolkit. So there's kind of different things that are set up, which I'll have set up like 12 months ago. And it just means people who sign up for me, they'll say, by the way, if this is what you want, and then you just get this like trickle of sales coming in. And once you've got something, you can just offer it whenever it's relevant to help people.
It's all very organic, isn't it?
Yeah, really clever.
Yeah. In terms of putting those, so you mentioned putting like a sentence at maybe the top or whatever, that every so often you mention a product. Do you find that mention it at the top or in the postscript of your maybe sales email for that week is more effective? Is it better at the top or the end of the actual text, do you think?
Yeah, so I'll do both in my emails. So when I do a PS, that'll always be about the product that I've done at the top. Because obviously, if people read it at the top, then actually they might want to read your email and what you're telling them, and then they get through and they'll forget all about it. Nobody scrolls back up the top. Or when they get the PS, they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember. I was interested in that." So I tend to maybe 3 lines at the top and then 1 line, maybe PS, and both have got kind of links, as it were. So that's kind of what I do, and it's even like, so it's for new people, but then it's just like a reminder for other people that that's like available, and that's what's kind of on offer. And I think that even boosts your like credibility as a writer and creator. If you're offering free content, but you've got stuff good enough to be paid, it just kind of all the time you just layer in that authority and that credibility that you are somebody, that you have got something to offer, and you got to like build that trust over time if you want people to trust you with their money. So you've got to kind of do that consistently. And I think one of the things that digital products does, it just kind of raises you up a level in terms of being a creator, entrepreneur, etc. That you've kind of gone up to the next level if you've got something that you can sell and you have sold.
So yeah.
Language.
So you talking about sort of raising your authority with digital products. Would you say that creating a digital product is something that anybody can do? So if someone's watching this today, and by the way, if anyone has any questions as we're doing this conversation, just feel free to put them into the comments as we go along. But is it something that anybody can do from scratch, or do you need some like a certain level of experience first, or what do you think?
So I've never worked for a business before, private company. I've worked for charities. That's kind of my background. And I've no marketing experience or business experience or anything. So I'm starting from like 0. So on one level, I always say to people, actually, anyone can do this. Do you know what I mean? If you want to learn how to do it, you can learn how to do it. It's not like you don't need to get any fancy qualification or any high level stuff. Anyone can kind of learn to do it. But having said that, you can't just knock up a PDF, upload it to the internet, and expect you're going to make 10 grand from it. So I ran a cohort last month teaching people, 6 sessions how to create a digital product. So I was interested in it, and they were chatting to me about what I was doing. And then they said, well, I've just uploaded my ebook to Gumroad, so I don't need your cohort. And it was like, that's absolutely fine. So a couple of weeks later, I messaged and said, how's your ebook doing on Gumroad? And she hadn't made any sales. And it was like, actually, creating a product's only half the process. You've got to kind of learn to sell it as well, So on the one hand, yeah, anyone can do it. And I constantly encourage people, the barriers to entry are really low. Like, anyone can do this. But you need to know some of the things about how to do it. You just can't just knock up a PDF and make money. You need to kind of understand your audience. You need to understand what their problems are. You need to really have quite a deep understanding of where they're coming from, and know how people buy. So you don't need to be like a sleazy salesperson, but you need to understand the process of what people go through to buy, so you could kind of help them with that. You can't just say it's here and assume people buy, because they won't. You've got to know how to craft emails and sales pages just to help them understand what you offer and why they might buy. But anyone can learn that stuff, because it's not like that complicated. But you just need to understand the process and the system. But anyone can do that, yeah.
Okay, cool. So if someone's watching this today and they want to do this now, so they're thinking, okay, I'm convinced, Derek's convinced me, I definitely can do this. What is the best way to get started on that process? Come to questions, by the way, after this. But what's the best way to get started? Even figuring out what kind of product to make for your audience, would you say?
Yeah. So on one level, you've got to kind of just take a step back a minute for strategy. And so the whole thing for me about creating online is like, I use like an ABC strategy, and you've got to kind of make sure you know where you're at with that. A is attract an audience, attract readers. So you need people interested in your stuff. And then B is you build trust with them that you can solve their problem. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm struggling with injuries, I'm a runner. If I'm struggling with injuries, I need to be convinced and trust that you know what you're talking about. Yeah. So you got to get people interested and then build trust. And once you trust, then you can cash in, you can convert it to cash, So the first steps is that, like in B, have you got people interested in what you're talking about, the problems you're talking about, your experience, etc.? And have you started to build trust with them that you have some sort of credibility, that you could be someone who could help them? And if you've started to develop those two things, I mean, you don't need like masses of those two things, but you need a little bit of it. And once you've got that, then you can transfer that and start to create a product for them. Because my first product, I had 545 subscribers when I created my first product. So you need some people interested, but you don't need now I've got like nearly 10,000 subscribers, but so you don't need that many. But once you got a few, but you do need to like understand your readers. It's often the quality of contact you've got with them and know where they're coming from, so actually this is what they need. And when people say to me, oh, I don't know what to create, that's often what people say. I don't know what to create. I don't know what product. I don't know what idea. And that suggests to me, actually, then you don't know your readers. You don't know your audience. Because if people are commenting on your stuff and you're putting posts out, say on like Substack Notes, or you're sending Substack emails out, and you should know what people are engaging with and what they're not. So if you're teaching people running and you send lots of posts out, and every time you talk about injuries, it goes viral. You get loads of comments, people replying to you, etc. And then you're like, actually, maybe that's what is bothering my audience. And then you know, actually, so they need a solution to that. What I'm going to do is give them the 5 exercises, or the how to prevent it, or the supplements, or whatever it might be. I just had an email today, actually, and someone saying their big question is like, should I do a survey to my audience to work out what they need and all that sort of stuff? And it's like, well, you can do surveys, they're great ways to find out. But if you're thinking, I've no idea what my audience is thinking, then you need to like post out some free content, get in conversations, jump on calls, run free stuff, so that you actually get to know them. But once you know them, you should have ideas coming out of your ears in a sense.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's really, really good advice. Yeah, I think that's always the biggest hurdle with creating products or even writing content. I think is understanding what your audience actually want, what they need, what their struggles and pain points are. And that's a great way of doing it. As you say, just keep constantly creating free stuff that addresses those problems and draws in those answers and helps you pinpoint those things. Uh, You mentioned there, Darren.
In fact,
Sorry.
Jim, if you're like quite at your early stage and you're just thinking, well, I don't even know what those things are, then I would say a cheat code is to look at the people who are writing similar stuff to you, but are a bit bigger. So if you're writing about running, look at the people who are writing about running with an audience bigger and just look at what stuff from theirs goes viral and look at the comments on it. So if you haven't got, or you post a couple of notes and you're not getting many comments, just look at people who are a bit bigger than you and what are people saying about that? What's their big questions? What's their issues? And then just start creating content on that. That's a way just to speed up your process of learning. And yeah.
That's great advice. Yeah, brilliant. That's great because most people listening to this now probably have smaller audiences and maybe don't get as much reach from notes and things like that to try and maybe draw that information in. So yeah, going to bigger creator is a great approach. You mentioned, Derek, about building authority and trust with your audience. What have you found is a good way to do that? So if you want to like get your audience to trust you more in a real authentic way, what's a good way to do that gradually over time?
Yeah. I'm finding that there's two types of creators, and so it depends which one you are, depending on what your route is. And so there's what I call the experimenters or the experts, And the experimenters are people who it's come from their own experience, so they're trying to sort out their running injuries or their health or their parenting, and they're trying some stuff out for themselves, and they've learned some stuff. And your authority comes from sharing your story. And say, I did this and this is what happened and this worked or this didn't work, and you share your experience.
Yeah.
Some people are more down like the expert route, so maybe I work with people who may be nutritionists or psychologists and they're helping other people. And so their authority comes from sharing the stories of who they're helping and how they're helping and the models that they've developed, which is helping people also come from their experience. So it might not be they're sorting out their own issues, but they're helping other people. So it's sharing like the stories really and the examples and what you're doing and why and what you're kind of discovering and just sharing that in public, sharing it on your notes, sharing it in your conversations as you're writing notes, you're writing your long posts, etc. That's kind of what really brings it in. And because people want to interact with like real people. So you don't need to be like a million miles ahead. You just need to be a few hundred meters ahead. And leaning into what makes you human and unique can actually set you apart, So I used to try and tend to be like Nicholas Cole or Din Denning or the people who are much further ahead and write like them, etc. And nobody wants like a poor imitation of Nicholas Cole. If they want that, they'll just go to Nicholas Cole or whoever your heroes are, etc. And I remember on Medium one time, I'd written my first sentence of this article I'd written was mentioned that I was 51, right? I was 51. I'm trying to build an audience, so whatever it is. And on Medium, not the Substack doesn't have this feature, I don't think, but on Medium, people can highlight what you've written. And I noticed the sentence got loads of highlights where I said I was 51. And I was like, well, that's a bit neither here nor there, is it? But as I looked at it and thought about it, it's like, because I was on Twitter at the time, there's lots of young bros on Twitter, you know what I mean? And it was like, actually, if you can start from nothing at the age 51, people were thinking maybe there's hope for me. And so rather than being disadvantaged, it can kind of be your advantage, you know what I mean? So if you're like, oh, I've never run before and I've just tried for the first time, or I used to be overweight, or I lost my job, or I had a mental health breakdown, or I tried to write a novel, 7 times and it failed every time, or that stuff can actually set you apart because people want like, the authenticity and the realness rather than I've just copied this from ChatGPT and I've got 10 tips on something. So I think just like being real, that people want to see you've made progress. It's not your journal, your therapy, but they want your kind of realness of it. And so I think just like share that and share all aspects of it and whatever people lean into and resonate with, you think, oh, that's the thing that they really appreciate. That's the thing. And you probably don't, I found you don't know that in advance. You just kind of share stuff and you keep sharing stuff and you see what kind of connection. So I was divorced a few years ago. When I I mentioned that in passing, but it never really gets picked up in my writing, so I don't make a big deal of it, but my age does. So I talk about that a bit more, So I think it's just throw all your stuff out there and see what fits and what people resonate, and then hone your message around that.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant advice. I actually shared a note yesterday about how whenever I was 13, I wrote a really, really bad Star Wars fan fiction book. And it weirdly resonated with people as well. People were then saying that they wrote stuff and they were sharing what their older stories and stuff were too. So, obviously, there was no real particular teaching point to that. It was just really that I tried stuff in the past when I was very younger that didn't work out, and now it is working out in that sense, which is good. So yeah, I think if you can connect story, even if it's your failures or the things that you struggle with, and draw a teaching point from that, that's the real goal. I think as a writer or a creator. I want to go back, Derek, real quick to a question someone asked if I can find it here. Um, if I can not close my screen. So someone said, with so much free content and now AI, do you think people will buy digital products like checklists and cheat sheets going forward? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was having a conversation with another creator this morning, and we were chatting about this. And I was saying that my sales of stuff is stronger than ever. I'm making more money this month than I've made previously, and I think that if so just generic stuff is all that stuff. You're just not going to be able to sell generic stuff that you've just generated on ChatGPT. But because people can get anything, yeah, you get
Yeah,
excited because on AI you can generate anything, and then you look at everything you generate and you're like overwhelmed by the amount of content. And so it's like, well, out of all of that, what actually works and what is useful? And so I think that if you can share stuff that works and that's useful, that's proven, that almost you become a curator of stuff. There's all these steps online. Yeah, there's all this stuff. And I tried this one and it worked. That can like set you apart. So when it's gone through your experience or the experience of people you're helping, then that can really, really help people. And I think as long as you're leaning into that and talking about your journey, then actually people will eat that stuff up, because who's got time to read 10 hours of AI generated checklists and stuff, that can really set you apart, I think, and it's probably why I'm reading a lot more books recently, because I'm thinking if someone has published a book, maybe a big creator or online marketing person or whatever, then that's been filtered a little bit through the editing process, and they've crafted a framework and they're telling you what works for them, and you can get a bit more meaningful content than just AI generic stuff,
yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, I agree. I agree very, very much. I think that what people connect with now more than ever is the person who creates the content, and not even necessarily the content itself. I think that connects with real people. I think that's really important now. Speaking of that, Derek, so you got something coming up tomorrow, which is very exciting for you, if everybody else is going to be involved with it. Tell us about your masterclass that is happening tomorrow.
Yeah. So tomorrow night, well, in the UK tonight, it could be any time at 6 o'clock tomorrow. I'm just running this free masterclass, and I'm just going to give people 3 secrets that I've kind of learned through creating digital products. I've created 6 in the last 12 months. So, the first one I created a bit random, and then the next one. And over those 6 months, it's gradually refined the process, whereas now it's relatively straightforward and I understand how it works and to make money. And so, yeah, just for those people who are struggling to know how to move forward, maybe they're wondering like, is this for me? And particularly people who are just overwhelmed by the whole idea and where do you start, etc. I'm just going to kind of talk through and use lots of examples from my own kind of history over the last 12 months, what's worked and what made it work. So hopefully that's just going to give people real kind of clarity and a lot of value for them to understand the process, either for people who are ready to get going now, or whether they're just starting to build an audience and they're thinking, one day I want to build a product. Sometimes it's good understanding what the goal is and the target and what that looks like, because it helps you right now when you're trying to build an audience and what sort of stuff you want to learn and how you want to frame it. So, so that's completely free.
Yeah.
There'll be a link below this video, I guess, when people will sign up. But yeah, people will be welcome to sign up and join us.
Brilliant. I will send out the link tomorrow before it in this post. I'll reshare this video then. People can sign up there if they want to. Is there a way people can sign up right now? Can they go to your Substack account and find it there?
Yeah, if they go on, I'll post a note right now. And then they can go to my Substack, and they'll see it mentioned in my notes.
Perfect. Brilliant. Well, Derek, that's really exciting. I know you'll be great and it'll be really, really useful for anyone who attends that masterclass. So anyone who's listening now, make sure you subscribe to Derek's publication up at the top of the screen and subscribe to his masterclass tomorrow. And you can join him and ask him some questions as part of it as well. And it'll be super useful. And Derek, I wish you all the best. I hope it goes really, really well.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Good chatting to you again.
Yeah, always. And everyone else who joined us today, thanks so much for coming along. It's really good to have you here. As I said, I'll reshare this again tomorrow when it posts so you can watch it back and hopefully sign up to Derek's masterclass then. But Derek, have a great day. Everyone who joined us, have a great day. And I'll see you all again on the Substack really soon.
Yeah, brilliant. See you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.